Hey, what's happening everyone? Jinsula here with a brand new Pokemon Go discussion video. I hope your day is going fantastically well, and let's get right into it. Okay, so this is a video that I was kind of reluctant to make, mainly because the topic of discussion today is going to be negative. There's a lot of things going on within Pokemon Go, and I personally believe Niantic is going in the wrong direction when it comes to their in-game content. It just feels like the game is just incredibly pay to win at this point. And I really do think that compared to how Pokemon Go used to be, a lot of the content that Niantic is pushing nowadays is really something that only people who spend a ton of money for a boatload of Pokecoins are going to be able to enjoy. So I really wanted to talk about this because for the last several events, it just seems like Niantic has been pushing more in-game tickets for special research, they've been pushing more egg hatching, and then they've been doing a lot of raiding content as well, where you're only going to get bonuses and you're only going to get certain Pokemon through premium content. And I feel like this direction has been very harmful for Pokemon Go. I mean, for the long term of this game, I feel like you need a really good balance between pay-to-win mechanics as well as free-to-play mechanics. But Niantic has not been walking that line really well. They've just leaned very heavily into paid content, and I think because of that, a lot of players are getting fed up because some of the best Pokemon that you can get are only available from paid premium content, and they're feeling like they're falling behind. I think a lot of this started with the introduction of Galarian Mr. Mime, and some players may argue it started even way before that, but in my opinion, when they introduced Galarian Mr. Mime as a premium ticket purchase exclusive, I think a lot of players were purchasing that ticket in order to get this brand new Pokemon, and Niantic saw that as a successful model. So we started to see that with every single in-game event, especially recently, they would just cram them with different special research tickets and players would buy them. And I think because they've been receiving a lot of that positive reinforcement for these shady practices, they've just been getting more and more egregious. It just really feels like they're testing the waters constantly. And I think this is something that we as Pokemon Go players need to be careful about. I mean, it's going to be a case where you may not necessarily get the brand new Pokemon if you choose not to spend money. For myself, the only time I ever spend money on Pokemon Go as of late is with special events like Pokemon Go Fest, Go Tour, and recently with Wild Area. But aside from that, I haven't purchased a single thing within Pokemon Go, and it's mainly because I just feel not compelled to do so, and I do not want to reinforce these terrible practices. And yeah, I'm going to miss out on new Pokemon. I feel like for the last couple of events, I did not get whatever new Pokemon it was. Galarian Corsola is a Pokemon I missed out on. I think recently with Sinistea, I might be able to get it by just spending a free raid pass. But with a lot of the Gigantamax Pokemon, for example, I just feel like a lot of this content is just premium paid content, and I just don't feel interested and inclined to actually pay for these Pokemon. The moment Niantic made it so that you have to pay for certain Pokemon, at least for some sort of early access for those Pokemon, that's when I feel like the game started to go downhill from a monetization point of view. In the past, all you had to do was play the game, and you can get any Pokemon in the game. Like, you could just fill out your Pokedex if that's all you were interested in, just simply by playing the game every single day. But it's been so long since it felt like this was the model for Pokemon Go. I mean, even with Pokemon like Mew and all the mythicals, you have to buy research tickets for those. And I honestly feel like Niantic has gone down a path that has been very unhealthy for Pokemon Go. And I totally understand that this is a business, this is a game that's meant to generate revenue for this company. I mean, if they're not making money, of course they're going to go under, and we're going to lose out on Pokemon Go. So it is a bit of a double-edged sword. But at the same time, I do think it's a fine line that they need to walk. They cannot just simply over-monetize Pokemon Go, otherwise people will give it a terrible reputation and they're going to have a hard time gaining new players. I've certainly seen this in the past with other games like Clash Royale and Clash of Clans. They fell off really hard over time, and it's mainly because the developers of those games got overzealous when it came to monetization. And I would really hate for the same thing to happen to Pokemon Go. I just feel like this game deserves a lot of success, and I still have a lot of fun playing it. but when it comes to monetization, it does get very egregious, especially lately with some of the new Pokemon that they're releasing that you could only obtain from hatching 7-kilometer eggs, or from doing raid battles, or buying a special research ticket. It's all getting obnoxiously ridiculous. I really feel like with Pokemon Go as it is right now, it just very much punishes you for going free to play. I mean, there's a lot of things that they've done in the past that was very friendly for free to play. For example, the daily adventure incense. I thought that was a really good move in the right direction. But ever since they did that, they went completely in the opposite direction and they started sprinting. It just feels like the game is just, I don't know, it feels like you have to spend at least $10, $20, $50 every single month in order to get everything, in order to get all the good content. And I think this is something that Niantic needs to reevaluate in 2025. There's plenty of ways they can make money off of Pokemon Go without having these shady practices. That's something that I have seen within very successful games, and it's something that I would definitely like to see for Pokemon Go. Now, this issue is not just with new Pokemon and new shinies. There's also the issue of in-game bonuses. I feel like in the past, when it came to seasons, for example, or with in-game events, they would top-load these different events with a whole bunch of different bonuses that you can enjoy during those seasons, and now it's stuff that it seems like you have to pay for, because recently with the Expedition Access ticket, you now have to buy a bunch of the bonuses that we typically would have gotten for free. I think a lot of newer players are completely unaware that when it came to seasonal bonuses, a lot of the stuff that you now have to pay for was stuff that was always included for free. In the past with seasons, we used to have bonuses like getting a free incubator every single day during that season, or increased experience from completing raids, stuff like that. This was all stuff that was standard, but now it's stuff that you have to pay for, and I really do not like that. It just seems like with Niantic, they saw a lot of the things that made these sort of events and seasons successful, and they tried to monetize it, and now players are getting fed up with it, because I really feel like we're in a place right now where it just feels like the developers are completely out of touch with the Pokemon Go community. That's been something that I've been saying constantly on my channel, and I think it holds true today, because with all of the stuff that they're releasing into Pokemon Go, it just seems like it's the opposite of what players are expecting. And then on top of that, they're just over monetizing it, and they're having all of these different new features that really do not do anything for the average player. People will engage with it maybe for a little bit, and then they'll just completely forget about it. I do not know a single player in my area who actually cares about routes. It's one of those things where only people who are grinding out best buddies for their Pokemon, that's the only reason they would ever do routes. It just feels very much like a feature that had a lot of potential, but it was just dead in the water, because I don't know, it just feels like Niantic is developing a lot of things that players are not actually caring about. The same can be said for the new AR update. Like, that was something that I felt like would have been a huge plus for Pokemon Go if they developed it correctly, but they went in a direction that I just did not feel like was impactful. And of course, when it comes to max battles, I felt like this was something that had so much potential, but it just ended up kind of falling by the wayside. It kind of became its own niche thing. Like, the only people that really care about Gigantamax Pokemon and Dynamax battles, it just feels like it's a very small subset of Pokemon Go players, whereas the entirety of the Pokemon Go community is a little bit mixed when it comes to it. I mean, speaking about Gigantamax battles, recently they stated that for Gigantamax Lapras, they'll be introducing a brand new item called Max Mushrooms. And that's just another way that they are monetizing an issue players are having with Gigantamax battles. These battles are incredibly difficult, and solo players and people who live in low population areas are struggling with them. So what do? They add a premium purchase that will allow you to have a much easier time with these battles. Again, they're not addressing gameplay issues with just better design. They're addressing these issues with paid purchases, and that's just not something that's going to be healthy for the game overall. Really, what it comes down to is that they need to design Pokemon Go around how players are playing their game and how players are treating their game. If they understood a lot of that stuff, they would be making so much more revenue than they currently are. They would get a lot more engagement, and I do think that a big part of that is because they would understand what players actually want without harming the long term of this game. And when I say that, I'm really referring to a lot of players getting every single Pokemon. I think that has been an issue for a very long time, and I totally understand that concern, which is why they would want to drip feed this stuff or lock it behind paywalls. But I still feel like they could address that issue in very different ways without having to harm the Pokemon Go community and without having all this stuff locked behind paywalls. That's something that I really wish, because yeah, it just feels like with Pokemon Go, it's not the same game as it used to be. And I totally understand that's going to be natural as time progresses, but it just feels like the game is just not as fun as it used to be. I think that's the one issue. The game needs to be more fun. It shouldn't be something where I have to pay money to have fun. I don't like that at all. So yeah, this is just my little rant regarding the direction Pokemon Go has been going as of late. I'm really concerned about this game because I look at a game like TCG Pocket, which is very much friendly towards consumers. They do a lot to make sure you're still engaged with the game without having to spend a boatload of money. I think that is something that Niantic needs to look into. I mean, within the Pokemon franchise, there's a lot of good examples of good monetization, and they should look into that. I honestly think they need to. So yeah, that's just all of my opinions regarding this, and I really do hope we see some positive changes, but it's really going to depend on us as a Pokemon Go community. If we're constantly giving them positive reinforcement, then yeah, this is the road that the game is going to continue going down on. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. I really have nothing else to say. I would like to know what the community is thinking. If you have any thoughts regarding anything that I talked about today, then I would definitely like to know. Make sure you share your thoughts and opinions in the comments, and let's have a great discussion around this topic. Thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of this video. I am Jinsula. Be safe, have fun, love yourself, and I'll catch you in the next one.